Hi again, everyone. I'm Olliemathews. This is Societal Narcissism. This video is sponsored by contribution from Faith. And here's her story. Hi, Ollie. In one of your recent videos, someone commented that they were surprised you're a narcissistic abuse survivor as well as a conservative. In my opinion, it all makes sense in a world that narcissistic abuse survivors who detest their abusers would lean to the right politically. The values naturally align because the narc abuse survivors seek change and justice. Why wouldn't we align ourselves with a political party that champion things like constitutional rights to speak freely and defend ourselves when being attacked by someone bigger like a rogue government or narcissistically abusive parent? We understand that for a narcissistic abuser or a toxic political party to remain in power, the abuser must manipulate, gaslight, threaten, and project to make their victim believe that they are crazy or make them emotional. And that's really what you're seeing here. You know, a good example of that is if you follow Tucker, his interviews. Watch the one with the latest one with Piers Morgan. Oh my God, does he? And like, listen, don't take offense to this, ladies. At least try not to. But he argues like a woman about to have it, like PMSing, like a PMSing woman, like just continuing to move the goalposts, move the goal. Do you condemn this? It's just they can't argue the facts. They can't handle like when like Tucker makes a rational argument about why something is the way it is. And he'll switch and then move to go, well, they did this, other people did something horrible, that there's some kind of connect. Do you condemn this? Do you condemn this? Like, all they're looking for is some kind of moral high ground for them to stand on so they don't have to deal with the truth of your argument. All they're looking for is the next moral offense to get you to confess to, so they can stand on some moral high ground, on their moral high horse, so then they can point their finger down at you. That's all it was. It was an hour and 20. I think the entire interview was about an hour and 20 minutes, an hour and 40 minutes, something like that. Like, you want to go out of your mind because it's like you're goofy. He's goofy. He can't stay on everything is emotion. Everything is emotion and completely irrational. And you could see by his thinking, one of the issues was Tommy Robinson being imprisoned for his words, for saying something that they think is defamatory against a refugee, and he's in prison. And that's up for interpretation, whether or not it was defamatory, or, the whole situation. And they're fun. Like, wait a minute, these are words. You don't throw people in prison for words. And he's completely fine with it. And right there is such a huge distinction between Europeans and Americans. They don't understand this about us. They don't tell us what to say, when to. Don't do it. Don't do it. Okay, back to Faith's story. So it's all about, right. So it's all about making you emotional. It's all about that. It's about an emotional issue, because once there's an emotional outburst, now you got your moral high ground to point your finger at it. It's what like Piers Morgan does. It's what the political left does. It's what your abuser does, because it's a cover to hide facts, to hide truth. Just as in this election, the left is using all tactics to confuse and redirect. Take, for example, debates among the general public depicted in man on the street interviews being posted on YouTube during this election season. I find it hilarious that the left-leaning folks who could only angrily recite rhetoric or hurl insults because they could not intelligently articulate their stance when debating a Trump supporter. For someone to insinuate that people who are like-minded in conservative values have a cult mentality is someone who, in my opinion, cannot fathom the idea that some people are authentically themselves and can organically come to a meeting of minds with others who have virtuous values. Those people are what I call perfectly programmed people, and I think they resent the fact that others have the freedom and intelligence to think for themselves where they cannot and prefer to be conditioned. Right, because these are the people, okay, that have since birth been told how great they are, how everything they do is wonderful. These are people they don't want to compete. And once you're and the worst competition for them, okay, is not in sports. It's not even in like a job, or it's mental. It's mental. It's the ability to think for themselves. That's what drives them crazy, because thinking for yourself is what leads to everything else. That's why they are so intent on controlling your speech, controlling your thoughts. They almost had us. They almost had us. They really did. Came that close. I'll tell you, if Trump don't turn his head, man. Wow. We're living in much different times. We really are. Personally, I had conservative values long before I listened to this channel. In fact, I appreciated the happy coincidence when I realized that Ollie, you had similar values. My desire to be nothing like my abusers meant I did not want to depend on others. I want to be empowered and self-sufficient, whereas those with narcissistic personalities, especially in the Democrat Party, have values that perpetuate a give-me society. For one example, the exploitation of welfare. I would venture to guess that a majority of those who abuse the welfare system are narcissistic people. Absolutely. I mean, sure. Because I just don't understand how, like, as a man, to turn and, like, I understand people go through things, especially the last 4 years. Okay, where there's a downturn and you got to do something, you got to do what you got to do, you got to get food stamps, and like, no, nobody's blaming you. Everybody goes through times. It's supposed to be a bridge, to get you through. We're talking about people that live on these things from birth until death, like who just live on these things. And that's not a racial thing, because there's plenty of white people that do it too. So don't think that. A leech is a leech is a leech on society. There's plenty of that. So yeah, I mean, there is a huge, huge portion of that. But what you said at the beginning of this paragraph, my desire to be nothing like my abusers meant I did not want to depend on others. My desire to be nothing like my abusers. Something I had predicted, and this is very relevant in this last election cycle, is Trump being able to capture the youth vote, specifically the male youth vote. These males that are being told over and over again that they're garbage, they're abusers, they're this and that since they've been in kindergarten, and they had it. And my warning was, if you've listened to my channel long enough, what was going to happen, because the millennials were gone. I said, these Zoomers, the Zoomer generation, okay, who are now being raised, their parents are these cluster B lunatics, these cluster B mothers, these cluster B lunatics, okay, who push all this, was pushing all this left-wing nonsense, okay, they want to be nothing like their parents. So what are they going to do? They're going to revolt against what their main parents' identity is. Their identity is all this woke stuff, and all this left-wing politics, they're going hard right. And that's where they find the Andrew Tates and the Rogans and the bro and the bro coalition on social media. And I warned, like, this is what's going to happen. And the problem is, okay, for the parents, is the kids are right in this situation. They're going to have the truth behind them. And that's what you're seeing now. That's why you got Elon Musk and his six autistics. And yeah, they're hiring back big balls who they fired. They're hiring them back because Elon put on a poll on X this morning. They're hiring them back. That's what you got. And they see it for what it is. That's why my last video was, the end of societal narcissism. It's coming. It's coming if we just keep pushing. You cannot let off the pedal. You just keep bombarding them of how it's going. Every day, doesn't matter. Like now Trump's like, yeah, no more paper straws. Awesome. Oh, a couple people wanted to know why I didn't mention the taking over of Gaza. Like, no, I just didn't get to it. Listen, the taking over of Gaza thing, let's take a breath. Let's see what he's actually going to do, because this is always a big negotiating tactic. Roll in a grenade, let it blow up, and pick up the pieces. Okay, we're not putting troops over there. We're not. But if he has a plan to get it rebuilt and get it all, hey, and we don't got to touch it. Hey, I'll tell you this. I think that was more sending a message to Bibi, because Bibi didn't look like he heard anything about that before. He telling him, we're in charge. We're in charge. I'm in charge. So before you're thinking we'll see. Let's see how that plays out. We'll see how that plays out. So give it a break. Give it a rest, okay? Give him a break. And give my emails a rest. Okay? Please, I got it. Okay, back to Faith's story. The entitled takers who want it for free without having to earn it their way. I've experienced with narcs who like to trick the welfare system because they feel like they got one over on someone. Those who allow it and those who put such a system in practice to begin with are from the other side of the coin, the codependent-minded person who thinks, oh, these poor weaklings, they can't do it without me. I'm so powerful. Of course, I'm the answer to their problems. As for me, nope, no thank you. I know nothing is for free. Being deceitful to gain welfare costs you things like self-esteem and the opportunity to grow. Exactly. I mean, you use it, you get off of it. You don't live on it, because I don't know how you look at yourself. I began earning an income when I was 14 years old. I supported my own personal needs and paid a portion of the rent just to silence the never-ending complaints about my burdensome existence. That is how I learned the value of hard work and self-sufficiency. Another conservative value I naturally gravitated towards when I was too young to care about politics or knew what a conservative was, is capitalism. I chose my first career path of accounting after hearing a lecture on capitalism. I learned it is the backbone of the American economy. I learned that small businesses and entrepreneurial enterprises require accountants, and as long as business happens, accountants would always have the opportunity to work and thrive. In college, we learned about fund accounting versus business accounting. Fund accounting works with nonprofits who operate on a budget, and in order to validate its spending, the organization utilizes deficit reporting to create a need so that funding would increase at the next budget distribution. Logically, it sounded like a waste to me. It sounded like an unsustainable system, a never-ending pit of need. That did not seem empowering to me. I decided then I never wanted to work for a government or a nonprofit organization. I wanted to work for a business that was truly in the business of making money. Like, you always know when you're dealing with shady with those nonprofits. Something I had to deal with at Macy's, and it was a fight almost every year between me and HR, but when did me and HR not fight? And I was always right. was the United Way contributions. Like Macy's had some kind of deal with the United Way, and they try to get where they have all their employees weekly have like a weekly donation to the United, like right out of their pay right out of their, and I refused. There were a bunch of us who would just outright refuse because I knew the history. Not a year would pass by when there wasn't some United Way scandal. Someone was stealing money. There was no misallocation. Every year. And yet here comes HR, and it would go right up to the regional vice president of human resources. Would come to me, Harriet, right? Like, Harriet, go away. This is corrupt. I'm not giving my money to a corrupt organization. I had this fight with her for, I think, 7 or 8 straight years until they finally gave up. Or I think United, they finally broke their thing with United Way, and they stopped asking, like something was just too unsustainable for even them with United Way. I don't remember exactly what happened. But they were all shady. They were all shady, all of them. And you being on the accounting side, you could really see, like, this is a problem. I came to prefer a small government after growing up on a tribal reservation. I saw how having an abundance of government oversight and regulations financially weakened our society and constricted the advancement in entrepreneurship and capitalism. Abuse survivors who want to go against the status quo of their childhoods do not want to be monitored, hovered over, and controlled, as does an oversized government do to its citizens. So again, it seems natural to me that a narc abuse survivors would lean right and be in favor of small government. No cult mentality here, just common sense. We know very well that if anyone can get us to depend on them, whether it be for emotional validation or finances, that abuser will undoubtedly lord over our heads, erode our self-esteem, and lead us to be subservient to them. This is why, and Faith gets it, and Faith has written in a bunch of times. Faith gets it, like she gets the bridge that I have made between your personal abuse of your narcissist and how it relates societally, where these people come from, because the tactics are exactly the same. If you are subservient, if you are taking a handout from the government owns you and controls you. No different than if that narcissist is funding you some way, holding funds over your head. It's no different controlling your life. It's the same thing. This is why, and she's got it. This is why you have to lean right. You have to. I don't know how you can look at all this money and just, all we're seeing is USAID right now. We're going to get we're going to get the rest of them. All this money being wasted. Even if you are the biggest left-wing leech in the world, looking for every handout there is, this should still bother you because look at all the money they're giving away that you could be getting, leech. Look at it. You're so happy just taking a pittance. You're so happy with the crumbs that they're willing to throw you. Because you don't want to lose that, but you don't realize, like, wait a minute, I'm getting this amount, and you're spending all this other money on like just crazy things. This is how small-minded they are. Because in a society, you're going to have, looks like 41% of society right now. Maybe you could get it a little lower in 10, 12 years after a new cycle of reform schooling. They don't want to work. They're not going to work. They're not going to contribute. They're not going to contribute to society no matter what you do. So wouldn't it be better, instead of just wasting this money overseas and throwing it to all these other corrupt politicians who are just pocketing, to take that money and use it so these people don't destroy society any longer? And then we can work on building the new, with the new kids and the new children and the new education, and get all this craziness out. It's better for everybody. They don't see that. I arrived at conservative beliefs after listening to all narratives and evaluated the ideas of the culture I grew up in. I began to see its flaws and strive for the kind of life that was intended for American citizens at the founding of the United States. Later in my adulthood, I did similar research with spiritual beliefs. I wanted to know if God was real and what was true about him or it. I sought out apologetic debates, explored different types of spiritual practices, read several religious doctrines, and eventually entered a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. I can only speak for myself when I say that the biggest revelations of truth and healing followed that conversion. The Bible made the most sense, and come to find years later, the American justice system is based on the principles of the Bible as well as a sustainable systems. Right, but yeah, that's why it's said that our American society is built on a Judeo-Christian platform. It absolutely is. Right, wrong, higher authority, a morality. One of the most effective modalities for addiction recovery is based on biblical principles as well. I have come to understand the world differently than the left-leaning counterparts of my generation because of my faith. I believe the God of the Bible is the creator of all things. He is the scientist of all scientists, intelligent being above all else. He is the being and the end, so therefore he knows the beginning and the end. He would have created this world with forethought and made abundant provisions for its inhabitants. With this as my truth, how can I believe in such a farce as global warming? The people with opposite views have fear-based mentality in some degree that they consider the human population to be a problem. That's exactly it. They're just anti-humanists. They're anti-human. They hate the world. They want to see it burn. Why? Usually because, and it's a tough reality. It's the unattractive of the unattractive of society. They want to see the world burn. Instead of trying to better themselves and being sure they're in the best condition and the best shape, and they don't want to do any of that. They just want to burn the world. And if they could use it by saving the minnow fish or whatever they were saving in California or whatever, no matter what it is, they're going to find a reason for you not to be able to advance your society. Why? Because it's not about saving, it's about destroying humanity. Because they're angry at humanity. Because they're angry at the cards they were dealt, and they don't want to work, and they don't want to do what they have to do to present themselves in present the best possible version of themselves. They don't want to do that. So they want to burn the world. These are the people who say absurd things like humans are fleas to Mother Earth. That is so sad from my worldview, in which humans are created in the image of God and that the world was made for us. Being made in God's image is what gives us value. What other moral stance could anyone claim if we were not? Why would anyone matter in justice or violence towards humans? It wouldn't matter unless we matter. We have value. If we don't get that the value from being made in God's image, where would it come from? History has shown us that when people lack the moral standards of human value, certain humans were decided to be lesser humans. This is the type of standard that the narcissists live by. After all, in their minds, they are the apex predators, and everyone else, including their children, are the lesser humans and should be treated as such. At some point in history, some factions of people decided that other races were less than human and enslaved them. This standard is what the real Hitler stood by when he felt Jews were less than human, so in his mind, they should just cease to exist. I see the same mentality being applied to unborn children today. It's just a clump of cells, right? And mind you, again, as another reminder of what the Nazi Party, what the official name of the Nazi Party was, the Nationalist Socialist Party is another left-wing party, and the left always deals in death under the guise of doing good or doing society's favors. That's how they have always operated. It's just a clump of cells, right? Less than human. If you do not want them, just get rid of them. That's the real inconvenient truth many leftists believe. Where is the virtue in that type of value that progressives fight for? Without having the knowledge and belief that we are made in the image of God, humanity can and has resorted to all types of depraved acts, and it's just called justified. Sick, right? And the problem is, through the course of humanity, the winner gets to decide what acts are depraved. The winner gets to decide what's justified and what's not. And we know in reality that is not the case. We are an imperfect species, to say the least. I strongly believe that narcissistic abuse survivors who lean to the right develop a similar worldview because we seek the truth. I think many of us embarked on that very journey, and we crossed paths not because of a cult leader told us to. Sorry, Ollie, you could take the credit. Seriously, though, it is because the path to truth is a narrow one. To follow that path, one must have some humility and ability to think critically. Progressives and the narcissist among them do not stop long enough to listen, to consider all the angles, and to think critically, in my harsh opinion. Right, that's because all they're doing is trying to avoid the truth. They're trying to get on some kind of moral high ground to condemn you from, so they don't have to deal with the actual argument. Again, find that Piers Morgan Tucker Carlson interview on Tucker's channel. It is a perfect encapsulation of how the left argues. It's so many things. It's so many things. The difference between European thought and Americans, and it's wild. Progressives and narcissists among them do not think long enough to listen, to consider all angles, and think critically, in my harsh opinion. Only a fair person who can see past their own selfish ambitions can slow down and arrive at conclusions and solutions that are logical, moral, sustainable, and just. Making selfish and entitled decisions shows a person has an immature state of mind. That is how a child thinks and makes decisions. Right. That's what you are seeing. That's what you're seeing out on the street. A bunch of immature children having a temper tantrum because daddy cut off the credit card. You're seeing a bunch of immature teenagers, because that's what they all think like teenagers. And now daddy has cut off the credit card. Now they can't pay for their fun. Oh no. Now what? What a child does not understand, what a narc does not understand, what staunch progressives do not understand is they are not the center of the universe. They do not always get what they want. Just because they really, really want a thing does not mean they're entitled to have it. Nor should they unrighteously plow down on anything or anyone in their path to get it. Conservative survivors of narcissistic abuse are the very children who never got to be a child because their parents were the children. Someone had to be, and still to this day must be the adult in the room. And if that ain't showing up Gen X, I don't know what is. As always, I am grateful for this channel and your feedback, Ollie. Respectfully, Faith. Well, thank you again, Faith. That was another excellent story. I'm sorry I didn't get to, there was some kind of, you did send something to me in November, but it was corrupted, and I was about to get, because you were you're first in the queue. Your story was first in the queue. So I went to it. I went looking for it like 2 days ago, and I'm like, it's got to be somewhere. So I was going to ask you for it again, and you sent it, and I'm glad. So, and I'm going to be getting to the rest of them. But thank you again, Faith, for another contribution and story. I really do appreciate it. Thank you to everybody watching. Please leave any opinions, advice in the comment section below. And again, if you want your story read on the channel, you have a topic you'd like me to cover, something you'd like to expose, you'd like to set up a Skype, a phone call, have a private video made, you'd like to sponsor a video like this for someone who needs help and can't afford it, or make a contribution to the channel in general to keep it supported, growing, and successful, because this channel survives 100% on contributions from all of you. Without you guys, all this goes away. So if you like what you see here and you want to see more videos like this, you know what to do with the PayPal, Cash App, Zelle, and email links in the description box below. Also, please like and share this video wherever you can. Subscribe to my channel on here, both my channels on Rumble. Be sure to follow me on X and Telegram as well. I'm Ollie Matthews. This has been Societal Narcissism. Take care, everyone.